Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the makeup of the Browns' 53-man roster.
Good afternoon. I was looking at the projected 53-man roster on the internet the other day, and I noticed that at least 60 to 65% of the players will have played for no one but the Browns, thanks to some excellent drafting from Andrew Berry. How does this compare with the rest of the league?
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Quincy, it's a really good question. Good teams, that's usually how it works, and the Browns are getting good at drafting and developing players. Teams that are perennially in the NFL usually have 65, even 75% of the players that they've drafted and developed.
Yeah, it's how you stay under the cap, too, is being able to develop and draft good players and, have the confidence that you rotate them out. That's what the Browns have been doing for the last 3 years here under Andrew Berry. And it's interesting, right? It's kind of like whenever we talk about the quarterback position with Cleveland, how people nationally have been like at least 3 to 6 months behind. Like, it's like we're doing mail in the Old West and takes like forever because they got to like horse and buggy the news out to the national media, out to New York. But it's kind of how it feels like. It's the same thing whenever we talk about Andrew Berry. Those who are closer to this thing and like really follow what the Browns have been doing understand that the Browns have been looked at much differently than what they are looked at publicly, right? When you go on Twitter and people talk about the Browns, people still think it's the Browns, is a badly run organization. People closer to this situation don't tend to think that. They actually think the Browns have done a really, really good job turning things around, stabilizing this the roster, being a well-run franchise in general the last 3 years. I mean, if you look at the mistakes that they have made since 2018, they've done a good job since Depot has been here, John DePodesta. John DePodesta. Since he's gotten here, you can see that even when they make mistakes, they're really quick on just correcting those mistakes and not repeating them, right? You get the Freddie Kitchens hire. Let's just move on. It was obvious he wasn't the guy. Let's move on. John Dorsey wants to keep Freddie and continue with that. You just got to get rid of John at that point, right? And then they go to Andrew Berry. Things that sound dysfunctional at first, but when you actually look at it from the macro, aren't really dysfunctional. Same thing with the Baker Mayfield, right? People were blasting the Browns about being dysfunctional about the whole Baker Mayfield situation. But the fact was, it was either you're going to extend him and commit money to him, big money to him, or you were going to move on. Which one did you want to go? That was the situation the Browns were in. The fact that they found a way to somehow get an upgrade out of this whole situation and still get a draft pick for offloading Baker Mayfield, I think should be commended in some ways, like as far as a football perspective and a pure roster building perspective. So, I mean, you look at the issues that have been created in 2018 since. The Browns have done a really good job in doing that. Also, really good job retaining their own talent. Like, we have named all of these top flight guys that the Browns have. All of them have had at least another contract with the Cleveland Browns. Right? Kareem Hunt got his second contract with the Cleveland Browns last year. Nick Chubb, Joe Bitonio, everybody that we mentioned has seen a second contract with the team. If this were happening in a different team with a different perception, people would understand what is going on here and not be as slow to catch up. But since this is happening in Cleveland, it's going to take the Browns like getting to the AFC Championship game for people to go, oh my goodness, what's going on in Cleveland? But it's been happening for quite a while. The restructuring and the whole organization, and that starts with DePodesta, and it continued on with who I think the perfect fit for DePodesta is Andrew Berry, and it's really accelerated since Andrew Berry has gotten here in 2020 with the addition of Kevin Stefanski. I think they all got all those three pieces lined up now to where they're going to be a pretty solidly ran organization for the time being.
Yeah.